Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be building a Floyd Rose Series 1000 bridge for my Charvel. This is the bridge that came off the guitar. I actually want to use this on a different guitar. I wanted this antique bronze finish, but I couldn't find one assembled. I forget which one I saw, but it definitely had the saddles that were made out of zinc. I priced out what it would cost to buy saddles and a base plate and some extra hardware. And it really wasn't going to be too bad. Matter of fact, it was not as expensive as I thought it was going to be. So let's just get started. First things first, I'm going to put in the tremolo arm. And you'll notice on this piece here that there's a knurled end. When that goes in, it's going to sit up. It's not going to quite go in. You can probably press it in with your fingers. If not, when you put this together, you'll notice when you tighten it down, it'll pull that right in. I don't go too crazy tight. Matter of fact, I'll use the actual key. Better judge of how tight I want it. You just don't want it to loosen up. All right, next step. We need to insert, I guess I call this a tension plate, a tension spring, something like that. This goes against the base plate, and then this piece of metal here goes against this tension plate. And you want it to go in this direction. And when it comes to putting the block in, you want to make sure that these spring holes are closer to where the springs are going to mount. Because if you have it this way, your spring is not going to fit correctly. It has to be in this direction so that the spring fits in like that. I start with the center. You don't want to cross thread this. If it doesn't feel like it's going in, back it back out and start over. Because the last thing you want to do is get this cross-threaded. It'll make for a really lousy day. I'm not going to worry about tightening this down until I get the other two screws in, and then I can arrange. I can make sure that those plates are in the right spot. So I'll just kind of put them in a little, just snug. I can still move things around. The hardware upgrade kit, by the way, I got it from a website, Axe Labs, I think it's called. And they had a good deal on this kit, so I decided to go with that. All right, so the critical thing for me is I want to make sure that this is as square as I can get it. So I got to back this out just a little bit. A little bit more play in there. You want to be able to move it. I want to make sure that that's correct. That looks... So I'm just eyeballing between the distance between here and here and here and here, and I'm just trying to get them to be about the same. That's probably as close as I'm going to get it. And then I'll just lock it down. Just kind of snug each one a little bit so it doesn't move. Double check it. Good enough. And then tighten it down. Again, I like to use this Allen key just so I can really feel how tight I'm going with it. With a T-handle, you can't really tell. Or actually, you can probably over-tighten with one of these. Next step, let's put these saddles in. This one dot represents the outsides. So these two will be 1. They're going to be the thinnest. Followed by this should be a 2, which is 1, 2. And then the center will be a 3. 1, 2, 3. When you go to put these in, and the first thing you can do is, I know that my previous bridge, all my cap screws were in this first position. So I'm going to go ahead and just put them there for now. Pretty straightforward. Double check, that's a 1. Put it here. Go ahead and put, when you want to put one of these blocks in, you got to make sure that that hole is towards the bottom. Now, when I do these, I'll spin it counterclockwise. It'll actually make a snapping sound. And then when you go forward with it, you'll know that you're not cross-threaded. So I'm going to go ahead and just tighten this down because when I go to install it, I'm not going to go too crazy because I'm going to have to adjust the intonation anyways. All right, that one is a 2. First thing you want to do is, you got to try to put the bridge back in, slide it to the back, because there's not a lot of clearance on a Charvel that's not recessed. Now, what's a little easier is if you can kind of grab the block from the inside as you're spinning the guitar over. Now, tricky part. I'm going to orient spring in the very outermost hole, going to probably the second peg in. Let's see if I can get this to work. There. These aren't easy to work with sometimes. So it looks like that. That's the way I'm going to orient this bridge. No rhyme or reason. That way, if I want to put a center one in, I can. But for me, I want this bridge to, I'm going to float this bridge. And I want it to be very subtle. I don't need it for dive bombing. So I want to have little spring tension, just enough so that when you bend a string, the bridge doesn't move too much, or if you hit a chord hard, that the bridge doesn't wobble. So now let's get started on putting some strings back in place. Best thing to do, if you can, I have a piece of leather here. And sometimes what you can do is, got to be careful because sometimes your bridge will pop out without any strings holding it in place. So you just kind of lift it forward. I'm going to put just this underneath the bridge right there. That way, it's a little bit easier to work on it. It's a little forward, make it a little easier to get the strings in. Go ahead and back these out. I know they make a tool that you can put underneath the bridge. I actually used to have one. Don't know what happened to it. But I find a piece of leather from an old strap works just as good. Also, for the first time stringing a new bridge up, give yourself a little extra winding in case you've got to move the saddles back. I know with a locking nut, you don't really have to have too much winding around the post, but if you wind them a little too close, then you may end up having to put another string on. All right, I'm going to try to switch camera position here so you can see what I'm doing on the other end. All right, I'll start with the high E. What I like to do is get these so that the hole is now in line with the neck. You don't have to worry about the string tree for the outside strings because you can get them through. But what I like to do, even with locking nut, what I'll do is I will get this, I'll just pull it tight here, and I'll pull it back right after this first fret. Then I know I have enough string I can wind. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the top of that. I do what's called over-under. I will go over this and you'll see what happens. And now I will go under it, and it will actually lock on the string better than tying a knot, which I think is ridiculous. This part of the string sticking out, you got one wrap going over, one wrap under, and as you tighten it, it'll put pressure on that. All right. Now's a good time to kind of turn in the thumb screws here just a little bit, these fine adjusters. So because the bridge is pulling forward, I gotta have this pull back, and I think I may need a third spring. All right, so ideally what you're looking to do is you want this, like this bridge, you see how it's pulled back. I want the bridge more like that, so it's just parallel. So I have a little bit of back and forth to do on this to get that to happen. And it's just a balancing act of changing the tension on your springs and string tension. You can see that that is now much better as far as being perfectly parallel. What I like to do is I've got some foam. This came out of just, I think, a pickup case. I bought a guitar pickup. I know they're supposed to be noiseless springs, but they're still kind of noisy. I'll just throw this in like that, and this takes care of a lot of it. And we're going to check. I'm just going to do one string on camera. All right, that is sharp a little. So that means the string, I have to move it back just a hair. So I'm going to take the tension off the string. Now I'm going to loosen, and I can see where it is, and I'll just pull it back just a little bit. Right about there. It's a little bit further than where it was. I'll lock it down, and then really lock it down. Now let's check it. All right, that one's good. So with that, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you later.